How are we? How are we? Oh, that was quite loud. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another deadline stream. It is game week 30, the week where it sounds like anyone is at risk of being benched this week. Nice to see so many of you in. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, wherever you are and wherever you are watching from. We are going to talk about everything. We're going to talk about who I think is going to start, who I think is not going to start. Can you sell those players who we don't think are going to start? Can you sell players if we think they are going to start? Is it going to be Haaland, Ekitike, Salah, João Pedro, Timber? There is, so much going on in the chat that we will discuss all of it. There are, of course, some big games as well, kicking off pretty soon after the deadline with Arsenal. Arsenal is 6:30, Chelsea are also 6:30. So actually, 5:30. The games at 3 o'clock are maybe not that beneficial, but we'll be keeping an eye on some of the games, any team news we get. We are going to talk about all of that. But before we do, let's get into the usual stuff. Let's say hello to some of you. Thank you all very much for joining. And happy Saturday to you all. Let's say hello to who we've got in the chat. We have got hello, John. Hello to TYB, Shane, Callum, Fiona, Matt, Ospike. We've got FPL Joe. We've got Ian. We've got Immortal. We've got Wade. We've got ULN. We've got Adrian. And we've got Hutchman. Hello to all the members and moderators in. There is also Matt and there is Mr. Highbury as well. All the members and moderators in. Thank you all, especially for your support on the channel. And to everyone else, we've got Rissim, we've got FPL Actor, we've got FPL Doctor, we've got Neil, we've got Ali, we've got Shamgar, we've got Samuel, we've got Mikey, Sling, Dominic, we've got Sam, we've got Ruben, Alistair, CLM, Sad, Marwan. We have got Ali again, Toms, John, Mr. Roberts Gaming, Wayne, Ian, Mohammed, Ethan, Footy, Milo, Odin, and Joe. Hello to all of you. Good afternoon and good morning. I hope you're all doing well. So, game week 30. It feels like ages ago. I'm not a big fan of the way that they're cutting the season with the FA Cups at the moment. And I posted about it a little bit over the past couple of days, that it just makes the FPL and the Premier League season feel a little bit disjointed. Now, I am fully aware that the Premier League don't cut the season and cut the schedule to fit what fits best for the Premier League season. But it just, for us, it means that we have these periods where you've got weekend and then a Saturday deadline and then a Tuesday deadline, and then you've got nothing from Tuesday all the way to the following Saturday, and it's not even a normal Saturday morning deadline, it's then Saturday lunchtime because of the European fixtures. It's just there is a lot of gaps like this in the season, which does just mean it's been a while since we've streamed and it's been a while since we've had some FPL to talk about. So Let's discuss the big questions. Let's start off by having a look at my team. I pretty much am certain to roll unless there is anything between now and the game week 30 deadline that changes my thinking or changes my plans about what I'm going to do. Right, so I've got David Raya, I've got Van Dijk, Gabriel, Richards all at home. There is a doubt over Anderson's minutes. Anyone who is a Fulham fan who might want to add into the chat what they think about it, feel free to do so. Hang on. Can I? One sec. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Hang on. 1 second. I'm trying to make the chat bigger so I can see it. Yeah, cool. So, where were we? Yeah, I think there's a risk that Anderson doesn't definitely start. So I've got that to deal with from a Fulham point of view. So as a result, it's pretty straightforward for me to just play Richards. And Bournemouth, I do think starts for United. Bruno in and captain, just because I don't think Haaland and Ekitike are nailed. I think they both probably start, but I'm not sure it's worth the risk on them when you've got someone like a Bruno Fernandes in there. Then you've got Anderson and I've got Harry Wilson. Again, I think there's enough chance that Harry Wilson starts away at Forest to start him and not be forced into make a transfer. If I had money for Dewsbury Hall to Tavernier, I would probably be making it this week. I think there's enough doubt over someone like Wilson. It's also not the best fixture being away from home. And Dewsbury Hall up to Tavernier is a nice upgrade. But I have just 0.1 million in the bank. So I can't do that transfer without freeing up money from something else. So Wilson is in, Haaland is in, who has my vice captain. Ekitike is up front and Thiago is also up front. I think Ekitike is the biggest risk of not starting this week out of all of the captaincy options for me, which is why at the moment Haaland has my vice captain. I mean, I'm pretty certain that Bruno Fernandes is going to start at home to Aston Villa, so it probably won't matter. But yeah, that's why the vice captain is on Haaland rather than Ekitike, just because I just have looked and listened and read a lot about Liverpool's predicted lineup, and it is all over the place. I think there is a chance that there are big changes before the Galatasaray game next midweek. So that is that. There is, of course, a lot of minutes doubts for a lot of players. Like people are asking in the chat already about Semenyo. Someone's asked if you can buy Semenyo. I don't think I'd be looking to buy Semenyo this week. I think there's enough doubt that he might not start this game. Someone like Timber as well. I mean, plus with the fact that Semenyo and Timber blank in 31, there's definitely no reason you should be buying them. But yeah, there is, of course, a risk for them both this week and then they blank next week as well. Jacob has asked Lewis Miley to Anderson or save a transfer bench player. If Lewis Miley to Anderson is not really going to impact your starting team very much, or it's going to give you a benching headache, then I probably wouldn't. Anderson, of course, is better than Miley, but if it's going to just be your bench player, as you say, then I don't think it's worth it. DUJ, you're considering to sell Haaland and Rice and Obi, your cheap forward to Vert, Ekitike, João Pedro. Reason for it is the full 11 in 31 and nice fixtures. So again, if you're looking to sell Haaland because you're not certain he starts, but it also benefits your team in game week 31 by giving you extra fixtures, I don't really have an issue with that. I have said over the past probably week now that my only reason that you should be selling Haaland this week, who I do think probably starts, is in order to do another transfer, which is an upgrade. And this example is Obi to João Pedro, or if you're doing Mark Guiu or Krupi Jr. up to João Pedro and Haaland down to Ekitike, then I do quite like that couple of transfers because it's a big upgrade. It probably helps your team in game week 31 because Krupi, Guiu and like Obi can't really be relied upon. So it is an upgrade not only this week probably with both of them coming in against Spurs and against Newcastle, but it also helps your team next week, which again, I think that is something to consider. So I don't think we're in the camp where you definitely can't sell Haaland, and I don't think we're even in the camp where you definitely can't sell Semenyo. Semenyo feels a bit more of a difficult one because that's just a straight shootout, and if you're selling Semenyo to Vert, I feel like they've got a pretty equal probability of starting this week, which doesn't really feel like it's worthwhile. But if you're doing Haaland to Ekitike and are upgrading elsewhere, then that's when I start to really consider that might be a transfer that I would make. For me, it doesn't really make sense for me to do it. I think the only way I would sell Haaland is if we knew between now and the deadline that he's not going to play. So if, lazy FPL tweeted or someone else tweeted that said Haaland is not starting, then I would probably have to sell him because of the blank next week. But I don't have a big second transfer that I would likely make with my team, because if I did Haaland to João Pedro, the one forward I don't own, it would be an upgrade of probably Dewsbury Hall with Wilson being back for next week. So it would be Dewsbury Hall to probably Florian Wirtz. I don't know that Wirtz starts. And then benching Wilson, is that really worth a second transfer? So it doesn't really make sense for me to sell Haaland unless we hear that he's not going to play. And even then, I don't think I'll make a second transfer. It would just be Haaland to João Pedro. And I don't think João Pedro is a better pick than Haaland this week. So the only way I make that transfer is if there was something to make me believe that Haaland was not going to play. Will a João Pedro return not hurt your soul? As a Chelsea fan, João Pedro returns have been hurting my soul for about a month and a half since we've got our new manager, and João Pedro has been banging in the goals every single week. So yes, absolutely, a João Pedro return will hurt my soul for sure. A question in the chat about triple captain. I know I've discussed quite a lot of chip strategy over the last week in the videos, but I know also those of you with the triple captain have been shouting at me in the comments to say, Harry, talk about when you plan on triple captaining. Effectively, if you've got a triple captain, play it in a double game week that you're not playing another chip. So if we get a double in 36 or 35 and you're not playing your bench boost, your triple captain, or something else, then weird. Sorry, one sec. This new community thing on YouTube is weird. Anyway, so I can't remember what I was talking about, but yeah, that's probably where I'm at with why I won't be selling Haaland to João Pedro. But there was a question that I was answering, and then I lost my train of thought because I read something. I do this a lot. Yeah, João Pedro. So yes, it does hurt my soul a lot. I don't think he's immune. I think he'll start. I think Timber will also start, but because Ben White I'm not sure. He's just not been that great. Anyway. Oh yeah, sorry, on triple captaining. Those of you shouting at me to talk about triple captain, and then I start talking about it and forget about it again. So yeah, triple captain. I would play it in a double outside of where you're planning on playing another chip. So triple captain in 33, 35 or 36 if you're not playing another chip, if we get another double. Could even be 32 if teams go out of Europe, etc. If you don't, save it to the end of the season until we get, and save it until game week 34, because that's when we'll know if they're doubles or blanks until the end of the season. And if there's not, then just play it in a single in the last few weeks. Aguiu, Rice and Enzo to Pedro, Tavernier and Antoine Stack. Aguiu, Rice and Enzo to João Pedro, Tavernier and Stack. I mean, I don't love Stack, but if you're benching him this week, João Pedro and Tavernier are probably better than Rice and Enzo. I don't think there's that much in it, but it is probably better. If you're not captaining Haaland, can I sell to Ekitike? Right now, your captain is Bruno. So, again, this is the same situation. I wouldn't sell Haaland to anyone unless there's a big upgrade of a second transfer, or we get something between now and the deadline that says Haaland is not going to start. I don't think, if we think Haaland and Ekitike both start, I don't think I'd make that sideways switch for just one transfer. It's probably where I'm at. Would I start Dubravka or Martinez? Villa away at United, probably Dubravka. Hope he makes some saves. Captain one of Ekitike, Bruno Fernandes. So Bruno is my top captaincy recommendation. Ekitike is third. Semenyo was in my top 5, but I've dropped him for Salah. João Pedro, Wirtz are also up there, but I think I'd be going Bruno. He's just the safest, I think. Let me do a captaincy poll in the chat as well. Game week 30 captaincy. Haaland, Bruno, Ekitike, other. Ooh. Let's see where people are at. Because last time I did this poll a couple of days ago, practically Haaland, Ekitike, Bruno were all the same. They were practically identical. They were like 30% each, 32% each. I think Ekitike was slightly lower. Best 2 of Evanilson, Wilson, Anderson and Hill. I probably wouldn't play. I probably would bench Wilson. I'd play Anderson and one of Hill or Evanilson, probably Hill. I would want to play. I'd want to play Evanilson, but I think he's not as good as the others. Start to bench order and the other 2. O'Reilly, we'll talk about O'Reilly in a moment. Wilson, Elliot Anderson and Munoz. So I would start Munoz, I would start Elliot Anderson, and I'd probably bench Wilson, and I'd probably bench O'Reilly. Ryan or Anderson, I probably would go, if I'm starting one, I'd start Ryan over Anderson, but if I was buying, I probably would buy Anderson if I was buying one this week. So, a City predicted lineup. There are so many different things going on with that City team at the moment. They've, of course, got the big Champions League game where I think it's possible they get back into that tie. I don't know if other people agree with me or not, but I think it's very possible that they do. So I think there is a big risk of some rotation this game. But I think the majority of players, as I've got in one of the things going around in the top right, is the majority of them will start. And there might be a bit of rotation or late on substitutions depending on how the game is going. Because what's the worst case scenario for City over the next week? They rotate against West Ham, don't win, still get knocked out by Real Madrid midweek, and then they're suddenly out of both competitions basically in the space of 4 days. Because if they drop more points, it's basically over. So that's the worst case scenario. I don't think City can risk losing to West Ham, because if they lose to West Ham or drop points against West Ham and then lose or don't qualify against Madrid and suddenly they're out of the Premier League and out of the Champions League, that is not a good position for them to be in. So I expect a lot of the City players to start. I think O'Reilly is a really difficult one to predict alongside Semenyo. I would say 60, 70%. I think they both do start. Whether it's O'Reilly in midfield or in defence is another question entirely, because Doku, Savinho are back, but are they wanted for midweek? Does Cherki start? Does he play out wide? Does he play centrally? There are so many moving cogs in that team. You've got someone like a Kovacic coming back. Can he play in midfield? Could it be Reinders? What does it do to O'Reilly's positioning? There's just a lot going on in that City team. So if you've got them, I probably would be starting them. I don't think it's the end of the world if you wanted to do Semenyo to Wirtz, but I'm also not certain that Florian Wirtz is going to start either. So yeah, I think City players, I would just play them. I would do the same with your Liverpool players. I'd do the same with your Chelsea players. I'd be pretty confident in saying that one of them across all teams are not going to start. Like if you add up Haaland, O'Reilly, Semenyo, Salah, Wirtz, Ekitike, João Pedro, Palmer. That's probably it. If you add up those 8 players, the chance of and Timber. If you add up those 9 players, chance of all 9 of them starting, probably quite low. Chance of 7 or 8 of them starting, probably very high, I would say. So that's probably where I'm at with it. Trying to predict who it's going to be is quite difficult. Good morning to you as well, Stuart. I hope everyone in the chat is doing good. Is Saliba starting? You've got 2 injuries. So the thing with Timber and Saliba, I wouldn't be surprised if one of them drops out. But I would predict they both start. I would still start Saliba if you've got him, I think. And again, Saliba feels like a player, if he doesn't start, he's very unlikely to come on. Whereas Timber doesn't feel quite the same, especially with fitness to Ben White. But yeah, I think Saliba I would just play. If you're looking to buy defenders this week, let's have a look. It depends a little bit on chip strategy. So if you're looking short term, the issue with Fulham is who is it going to be? Like, you can't really buy Anderson this week you can't buy Anderson, I don't think. I was going to say unless he starts, but we don't know if he's going to start. So I don't think you can buy Anderson. You could buy Tete. He's probably the only one that I would look to buy at right back. Brentford, you could go and buy Van den Berg, but he does come with a slight risk. I think Van den Berg feels pretty nailed. You could buy him. Forest, I actually think Forest should be considered. You've got Williams, you've got Milenkovic, you've got Murillo, Fulham at home, Spurs away. I think there's a good couple of fixtures. Or you go to Bournemouth. The obvious safe play is to buy a Bournemouth defender. Someone like a Hill, someone like a Senesi. The exciting play would be a differential punt on Forest, I think. That's probably where I'm at. I also don't think if you've got Chalobah, I don't think he's a bad pick for the next couple of weeks. Home to Newcastle, Everton away is fine. So yeah, that's probably where I'm looking. Tete, if you have to buy Fulham this week, you could also punt on Bassi, who I expect to play, whether it's Anderson or not. Brentford, it's Van den Berg. Forest, there's quite a lot of good differentials there. Bournemouth, it's Hill or Senesi. If you've got the money, it's Senesi. Now, if you're looking longer term, Leeds become better, so someone like a Rodon, because their 33 to 35 fixtures are not bad. Vandenberg is better. Forest also remain good because they have Burnley at home, Sunderland away in 33 and 34. The teams that you see that drop lower down the list when you start to look at a 6-week view, so if you've already used your wildcard and if you've already used your wildcard or you're looking to wildcard 35, I wouldn't buy a Bournemouth defender, because after Burnley, they play United, Arsenal, Newcastle, and then Leeds. Fulham are also less good. They play Forest away, Burnley at home, next two. Great, but then it's Liverpool away, Brentford away, Villa at home, Arsenal away. Is not great for them. So short term, Fulham and Bournemouth are great. Long term, it's more Brentford, maybe Forest, Leeds, and then punting on like Liverpool and Chelsea. An interesting comment from someone in the chat. Rob T FPL. So for anyone who doesn't follow Rob T on Twitter, I would go and follow him. He posts sort of projections. So the first thing is that this is Haaland XG over the season trended. And you can just see it's absolutely tanked. Over the first 6 weeks, he's great. And then just pretty much it's slowly dropped off as the season goes on. So he's not looked as good. And I think that's obvious. But the other thing is he updates his projections as the week goes on. And one thing a couple of weeks ago that indicated it was City Wolves. I don't know if you remember the stream, but City played Wolves and there was big risk of rotation, and Haaland and Foden both got benched, and we knew before the deadline. And one of the reasons that gave us that indication of it was that the market odds, the projections of goals, the odds, the bookies, dropped the number of predicted goals for City quite drastically. Now, small changes like you see here of 0.06 are pretty irrelevant, right? That's just enough of a small change. Anything over maybe 0.15, I would say is something that is worth looking at. Anything over 0.2 would be, okay, that might be some information or something impacting such a big change. 0.16 for Liverpool is the only significant change really here. And I'm not certain it's high enough for us to read anything into it. It might imply that, yes, it's a pretty full-strength team. The game's not until tomorrow, so it's unlikely that this is anything apart from the fact that people are backing Liverpool to beat Spurs. And I think as the week's gone on, people have become more and more favouring Liverpool to do very well against Spurs. So I think that's all that is. I did see that this morning. Thank you for mentioning it. And I actually did get it up to talk about. Champions League qualification for Liverpool is key. You don't expect much rotation. Well, that's the other thing, right? That, of course, I think it's different for City, but Liverpool, they can't really afford to drop any points, nor can Chelsea. City also can't. Yeah, the Liverpool one is more just because people are backing against Spurs as the week's gone on and backing Liverpool heavily in that fixture. There's nothing. That is the way that game has trended. That is the way that people are going with that game. So yeah, I plan on rolling this week, unless, as I said, there's a tweet or anything between now and the deadline to change my thinking on Haaland. So 4 free transfers for Dag. Tarkowski, Rodgers, Dorgu to Van Dijk, Richards and Tavernier. I only just used triple captainship. I definitely wouldn't buy Richards. Tavernier I like, Van Dijk I like, selling Tarkowski and Rodgers is fine. It sounds like you're going to get some money. I'd buy a Bournemouth defender I'd buy someone different. I wouldn't buy Richards this week. I know Leeds at home is not bad, but play Enzo or Wilson. I would be playing Wilson over Enzo. I'm hoping that both of them are in the start bench ranking in the top right hand corner. Enzo is, I would play Wilson over Enzo. Yeah. Key players, benching ranking. I'll start with, I'll put them back up for you in a moment if you're looking for start benching. So the other one there is Rice or Wilson. I probably would play Rice. In that scenario, I don't think there's that much different between them, and I'd probably take the minutes. I'm doing very good, thank you. Let's talk Palace. Another low-scoring game, I hope, for you this weekend. Richards, what a hero. He hit DEFCON and got man of the match in a 0-0 on Thursday night. That would have been a huge return if it was in FPL. Sadly, it wasn't. Start Chalobah or Richards. I probably would play Richards at home to Leeds. I'd play Senesi over Richards, definitely. I'd play Hill over Richards, definitely. Play Elliot Anderson or Enzo. I'd play Anderson. Yeah, definitely Elliot Anderson. I mean, what a guy. I mean, can we just take a moment? Can we just take a minute to appreciate some of last week's heroes? Please. Two of the heroes of last week have sadly dropped to the bench for game week 30. But Dewsbury Hall, 9-pointer, and a 6-pointer off my bench the week before. Hero. Absolute hero. You know, combating a 90% owned Antoine Semenyo, Dewsbury Hall, legend. James Tarkowski, hero. 15-pointer. Sadly, no DEFCON for him. But we'll take the goal. We'll take the clean sheet and we'll take the 3 bonus. But the one man who is above and beyond the biggest hero in FPL at the moment, the man, Elliot Anderson. I mean, just probably my single best transfer of the season. He is just an incredible footballer, an incredible FPL pick, and I love having. If you're watching Elliot Anderson or anyone who knows Elliot Anderson, please send him my gratitude and my thanks for, and I apologise for benching you away at Man City. I should never have doubted you, but luckily Wilson and Anderson didn't show up, so I got you off my bench. But yes, start Enzo or Wilson. I'd play Wilson over Enzo, I think. Is Dango a good buy this week to replace Rodgers? If not, who else? I mean, if you can bench Rodgers this week, that's probably what I would do with West Ham at home. But yeah, I don't mind Dango. Wolves at home. Also, as we looked at with the fixtures, the long-term Brentford fixtures are really good. So if we get to 32 and you decide not to wildcard, Everton at home, Fulham at home, West Ham at home in 3 of the next 4 is very nice. I think there's a okay chance that Sanchez comes back in for Chelsea. As a Chelsea fan, I hope Sanchez starts. Sanchez is better than Jorgensen, and I will say it, and I will say it again. It's just like what happened at Spurs. I mean, I feel terrible for Kinski, but people get frustrated with their first choice goalkeeper, forgetting that, you know, the manager and everyone sees them in training week in, week out to know that they should be first choice. And Jorgensen should not be Chelsea's goalkeeper. That is for sure. It should definitely be Sanchez. The other thing to look at is the data that we've got for the season as well as the last 6. So a few interesting things to pull out. You've got Liverpool 5th for XG, 3rd over the last 6, and you've got Spurs 17th for expected goals conceded and 20th over the last 6. A few others to pull out. You've got Fulham 12th for XG, but they're actually 4th for XG over the last 6, and Nottingham Forest are 18th over the season and 15th over the last 6. I'm not sure there's too much else to pull out apart from actually West Ham 19th for expected goals conceded, but 9th over the last 6. So they've definitely improved there. Newcastle have absolutely tanked over the last 6 from 5th to 17th, whereas Chelsea are 1st and 1st for expected goals over the season and over the last 6. So Chelsea, Newcastle leans towards Chelsea. Liverpool, Spurs, of course, leans towards Spurs. And Fulham Forest leans towards Fulham. That is where we're at with the fixtures and the data for this week. Thank you all very much for joining. If you could drop a like on the stream. There are almost 3,500 of you who have not liked the stream. So if you could, that would be much appreciated. Your chasing rank: Erling Haaland and Rice to João Pedro and Vert, or Salah for a hit. I wouldn't take a hit to sell Haaland and Rice, even if you're chasing. I don't think. Sell Haaland and Gravenberch for João Pedro and Wirtz. Probably not. Probably not. Sell Haaland and Gravenberch. I mean, I know Gravenberch isn't that attacking, but I'm not sure I'd want to sell him at home to Spurs this week. I probably wouldn't do those moves. Buy Palmer or buy João Pedro? I've said it since about, for a long time that João Pedro is the number one Chelsea player to own. Since we got the new manager, if you watch us play, João Pedro is the number one Chelsea attacker to own. Do I think Munoz starts? I think Munoz will either start or he'll not be in the squad. So you have that benefit to Munoz. I think more likely I'd say no, but I think it will be close for him. Would I rate Wilson's chances of starting? I mean, if he's been in training, I've got no reason to think he probably won't if he's back fit, particularly because they've lost and failed to score last game. And then they lost and failed to score against Southampton as well. So that's 2 games that he's not started and 2 games that they failed to score in. And they won't really want to let that happen again. So I think Wilson will probably start. Gravenberch. Sorry. O'Reilly, him or Fulham Anderson. I'd probably take the chance on O'Reilly. Is Virgil a good long-term pick for FPL the rest of the season? Absolutely. For anyone who isn't aware, Liverpool have got a new set-piece coach over the past month. And I don't think it's any surprise that they are lining up with set pieces that look like Arsenal. And I don't think it's a surprise that Van Dijk is suddenly looking like the biggest goal threat he has done in his entire career. So yes, Van Dijk, long-term, Spurs, Brighton, and then after that, Fulham, Everton, Palace. Like, Van Dijk is probably one of those players who is unlikely to go on wildcards, whether he doubles or not, probably. Yeah. I'm not sure I'd be buying. I don't love the Szoboszlai pick. I understand that the data will massively favour Szoboszlai over others. I get that, but I just don't love him as a pick when you've got other options like Wirtz there. I know his minutes are great, and that's a big boost to Szoboszlai this week, is that you know he's going to play. You know he's going to be there. You know he's going to turn up, and he's going to play 90, which I don't think you can reliably say for any other Liverpool attacker apart from Szoboszlai. So that is a benefit. But I just can't help but watch Liverpool play and think he's not the FPL asset I want. But he's cheap enough that if you want Liverpool to target Spurs, I don't have a massive issue with it. I just don't think he's that exciting. Salah captain, if you own him, probably. I still think Bruno is safer. I do think there is enough doubt in my mind that Salah might not start. But if you've got him, you obviously trust Salah more than I do. Like, if you've bought Salah, you trust him more than I do. So I wouldn't captain Salah, but I wouldn't buy him because I don't trust his minutes enough. If you've got to the point where you've got Salah, you trust him more than I do. So then maybe you want to captain him. So it's hard for me to answer the Salah one because I don't think I've seen enough to captain him, to own him, full stop, let alone captain him. You're chasing rank. Should I captain Tavernier or Thiago? I had to captain one chasing. I mean, I don't hate the Tavernier captain. He was very unlucky to blank last week. He's on pens as well. And he's a midfielder. So, like, 1 goal for him, like, could be huge. Could be huge. Probably that. Start O'Reilly or Wilson. I probably would go with Wilson. I think. Find the O'Reilly one. I'm not even sure City keep a clean sheet. That's the other thing to think about with O'Reilly. I think West Ham have been very good. Like, we saw it with the data, right? We saw it with the data. Defence, they've gone from 19th to 9th, but they've also gone from 14th to 7th for XG. Season data compared to the last six. So West Ham are massively on the up. They are massively on the up. So, yeah. I wouldn't be completely against benching. Why am I so confident on Bournemouth defence? It just feels like their baseline is really high. Chances are they'll hit DEFCON. Chances are they won't concede more than 1. Feels like the floor is 4. for a Bournemouth defender this week, which is great. West Ham are missing Somerville, so that will impact them. It will, yep. But I still think they're finding form. I still think they're finding a bit of a groove. Yeah. Triple captain Ekitike. I definitely wouldn't be playing my triple captain on anyone this week. No, because the risk of minutes, the risk that they don't start is too high. Sell Enzo and Pickford for Petrovic and Mbermo. I don't love a goalkeeper transfer, no, so probably not, even to do Enzo to Mbermo. I don't think I'd be buying Mbermo now. Like, he's fine, but like Villa at home, Bournemouth away is okay, but I don't have that much hope for him. Why am I not replacing Haaland with João Pedro? I mean, so basically my reasoning is, I understand that the idea of the transfer, first of all, is I don't need the extra player next week. I've already got 11. And I think Haaland away at West Ham is better than João Pedro at home to Newcastle. Is basically, if they play the same minutes. Now, if you told me that Haaland played reduced minutes, then yes, I probably would favour João Pedro. But I don't need the player next week. So I don't have to make the transfer. Like, I've got Raya, Van Dijk, Gabriel, Tarkowski. Like, I do have double Everton at home to Chelsea, which is not ideal. But I've got a back three of Van Dijk, I've got Tarkowski, and I've got Anderson if he plays. I've got Mbermo, Bruno, Anderson, Wilson, and Dewsbury Hall, and I've got Ekitike, Thiago. Like, my team is fine next week. It's a blank game week. It's not the best week. Chelsea away at Everton. Like, it's not the easiest. I think people... to be fair, I was going to say I think people are overestimating the Chelsea fixtures, but then again, Newcastle have looked all over the place defensively, and their data is awful. Where would I put O'Reilly? I'd put O'Reilly quite high up. I'm going to take DCL out because not many people own. Like, I probably would play... Would I play Richards or O'Reilly? I probably would play O'Reilly over Richards. Like, if you're in a situation where you've got Bowen or O'Reilly, you're basically backing West Ham to score or not score. Probably would play Bowen over O'Reilly. The question, if they want a comeback against Real Madrid, by the way, can they do it for sure? Does that mean that Haaland should not play 90? He was injured recently with a risk of it. That is one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is he was dreadful against Real Madrid. He was really not very good. And maybe they need to play him into form, or maybe they think they're better off without him. All of this is possible. All of this is possible. I think he starts, but... Someone said that they tagged me on Twitter, but I can't see it. Oh, I've never seen that account before in my life. So, and the fact that they've not tweeted in a while. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good, thank you. Right, where are we? If selling Rice for Tavernier, I think it's a fine transfer. I think Rice is still a good pick at home to Everton. Like, I'd expect a clean sheet there. So that's a base of 3. Chance of a set-piece goal. Chance of DEFCON as well. I'm not sure I'd be rushing to make that transfer. Like, is it beneficial for your team? Because after this week, I don't think Tavernier is that great. I probably wouldn't unless you need the money. Play Timber or Richards. I'd play Timber if you've got him, I think. Rice and Barnes for Ekitike and Anderson. Declan Rice and Harvey Barnes. Declan Rice and Barnes of Burnley for Ekitike and Anderson. Yeah, if Rice to Anderson gives you Ekitike for Barnes, then definitely would you. Sell Rice to Wirtz. I probably wouldn't, because I just think there's enough doubt about Wirtz's minutes. When you've got Rice, will play 90, almost certainly. Salah can become the all-time most scoring Liverpool player against Spurs if he gets 2 goals tomorrow. I feel like we've had this before with other players. I don't read too much into stats like that because if he doesn't do it, we'll be in the chat next week saying he could do it against Brighton, right? So, and if he'd have scored a hat-trick, I'm sure people said if he scores a hat-trick against Wolves, he'd do it as well. So, yeah. Saliba to Hill, Cunha to Krupi, correct order. Oh, need 2 of them. Yeah, I'd play Saliba and Hill and bench Cunha and Krupi, yeah. Start Wilson or Iwobi. I probably would just take the minutes on Iwobi. There's not much between them. Has Harry Wilson been confirmed? No. The only other thing to mention with Fulham. So if anyone didn't see the news, unfortunately, Raul Jimenez and his family, his father passed away over the past couple of days. So we don't really know what impact that's going to have if you're a Jimenez owner. And of course, as I said in my video, much more important things for him and his family right now than him featuring against Forest if he's not ready. But so we don't really know the impact that's going to have. We don't know if he's going to be involved or what time he's going to need. If he was to be out, what it would do to them as a team as well. So just if you're a Jimenez owner, it's something to think about with your transfer. I do think Harry Wilson will start, yeah. Wilson or Rice is being asked a lot. I would take the safety on Rice. I would play Rice over Wilson. It's being asked quite a lot, Wilson or Rice. I would take the safety of Rice over Wilson, I think. Would I do Rodgers to Tavernier as a luxury transfer? Would I do Rodgers to Tav as a luxury move? Probably not. If you're starting Rodgers this week, then maybe. But if you're benching Rodgers, probably not. Bowen to João Pedro, 5 frees. Yeah. Like, I don't think João Pedro is a definitely better pick for the next 2 than Bowen, but I probably would take that chance. Would I do Haaland to Ekitike? I would only do it if you're certain that Ekitike is going to start and maybe you want to captain him. I'm not sure I'd trust it enough to do that. Or you're using the money for a second transfer as well. And if you're using it for a second transfer, like Guiu to Thiago or Guiu to João Pedro or something, that is all something to consider as well. You have exact money for Senesi, or am I better just going Hill? So Senesi's better than Hill. His Defcon's better. His Defcon's about equal to fair. His goal threat is better. And his bonus is better. So if you've got the money, I probably would. But in the example here where you've got exact money for it, I'm not sure I'd be using up all the money in the bank. If you've got like $1 million spare or something, then I probably would go Senesi. But if it's exact money, I'm not sure it's worth it to have nothing in the bank. Because I look at my team this week. Let's say I'd have made a transfer and I'd bought Senesi over Hill that left me with no money in the bank. This week, I could have done Dewsbury Hall up to someone else. So I probably, unless it's going to leave money in the bank, I probably would go with Hill over Senesi. Despite the fact that I think Senesi is a better pick now. Now that the yellow cards are gone, now that, yeah, they both are just very nailed and Hill's going up in price. There's not that much between them. Could I fit Wilson in for any of Haaland, Ekitike, Thiago, Semenyo, Bruno, Dango, Anderson? No. I'd bench Wilson. The thing with Wilson, risk he doesn't start is there, and it's an away game. And he doesn't have pens, set pieces, DEFCON compared to what other people do have. So as much as I think Wilson will start, there are other more nailed players than him this week, which is probably, I'd go for the safety. It's the same as like captaining Bruno, that I would take the safety if you can. That's why I'm going with Bruno. That's why I would start Anderson over Wilson, because I'm boring. I'm taking the safety. But if you want to be, you're chasing, right? Wilson is probably a better chasing pick than someone like a Rice. But that's up to you. Captain Vert, probably not. I don't think he's nailed enough to start this week, just coming back from injury, and Galatasaray next week. Van Dijk, Gabriel, Anderson, O'Reilly, Dallo, select 3. Van Dijk and Gabriel, definitely. And then I'd probably play O'Reilly and take the chance that he starts. O'Reilly or Richards, I'd take the chance on pretty much O'Reilly over most defenders this week. Apart from if you've got like Van Dijk, Gabriel, Timber, Munoz probably. Because the issue with O'Reilly is he could come on if he doesn't start. If Jimenez does not play, will Wilson take pens? It could be Wilson. It could be Muniz as well. Wilson has got the best penalty history record. It could also be Iwobi. Wilson would be my guess. Yeah. Ekitike captain if chasing. I mean, let's look at the poll, right? Haaland 25%, Ekitike 21%, and Bruno 50%. So out of those three, Ekitike, Haaland will be about, what's that, 125, 130% owned. Bruno will be what? He was like 80 last week. He'll be like probably similar, 125, 130, probably slightly less. And Ekitike will be the lowest. So if you're chasing and you want, I mean, if you're chasing, going for someone that's not those three, but then that's also the biggest risk. Andy says, people ask why FPL has become boring. This week is a prime example as everyone is captaining Bruno just to be safe. I mean, if I knew Ekitike was going to start, I think I would captain him. But the risk of minutes is too much when you've also got, it's not like Bruno is a bad captain as well. Bruno's on pens. He's playing at home. He's had a week and a half off. He's playing a Villa team who just played away from home in France on Thursday night. His returns at home over the past, since Carrick has come in, at home, he's had 13, 10, 10, 10. He's hit 4 double-digit returns at home in a row. And outside of that, he still hit 7, 5, 2, 2, right? And as much as we think Spurs will get battered by Liverpool, that is probably right. Ekitike comes with a risk that he might not start. And he's had 2 good games. They were both at home. He is better at home. But you don't know, it's just the minutes. And the fact that if Gakpo had started on Tuesday, I think I'd be more inclined to do it. But Gakpo not playing is probably enough to put me off it. See, if you want Senesi, would I sell Chalobah or O'Reilly? I'd probably sell O'Reilly because O'Reilly has got West Ham. He's not nailed. Then it's a blank. Then it's Chelsea and then it's Arsenal. So I probably would go Chalobah. At least he plays next week. Would I start Rodgers or Wilson? I'd play Wilson this week. Rice and Guiu to Anderson and João Pedro. Fine couple of transfers, especially if they both start for you this week. And Dye to Anderson, 1 free. Probably not. Unless you're having to start and Dye. But I like Anderson. And I'm a big fan, as you all know. But if you're wildcard 32, I know he just scored against City. But chances are he won't score again for the next 2 games. So I feel like there are better, more explosive picks like Tavernier if you're on wildcard 32. Would I captain Bruno or Salah if you owned? So if I owned, I would consider Salah. I don't rate Salah enough because I don't want to buy him. If you own Salah and you've got to that point, then I probably would consider captaining him. Would be extremely surprised if Ekitike didn't start. Gakpo just isn't good. Absolutely. Ekitike is a definite better striker than Gakpo is. Absolutely. But again, Champions League next midweek. Ekitike will 100% start that. Gakpo might also start it. But it's enough of a minute's risk. And I completely get if those of you watching don't agree. If you are confident on Salah, Ekitike, Haaland starting and playing 80 plus minutes, because if they're playing less than that, I still think Bruno is better. But if you think that they are starting and playing 80 plus, then I think you should captain them over Bruno. But I'm not confident enough that I could say that Ekitike and Haaland's predicted minutes are over 80 to captain him. Is probably where I'm at. So that's why it's on Bruno. It's not going to move off Bruno. The only thing that can move, again, as I say, is the vice captain if there's something that makes me think that Haaland might not start, but Bruno's not going to not play, right? So, yeah. As always, as we get closer to the deadline, I can't spend all my time on Twitter. I will do as much as possible. But yeah, if anyone sees anything and they want to tag me in it, sorry, I was just reading a tweet about Branthwaite. Should be fine to start. Yeah, because Branthwaite didn't go on. Ooh. It's snowing. Branthwaite didn't go on warm weather tour with Everton because he's carrying an injury. But it's an impact for Michael Keane, but they go away to Arsenal this week. So why no word or even start bench on Semenyo? That is a very fair and very good question. I mean, if you've got Semenyo, I think you have to start him. The City predicted lineups are all over the place. Like, they have Semenyo in, they have Semenyo out, they have Gay in, they have Gay out, they have O'Reilly in, they have O'Reilly out, they have Haaland in, they have Haaland out. It is as good a guess as mine. I think Semenyo will start, so I would keep him and I would play him. Yeah. But there is a risk with Semenyo. Would I start Enzo or Munoz? I'd play Munoz and have Enzo sub. What is the percentage chance I make a transfer? Unless there is something to, between now and the deadline, on Haaland, I will not be making a transfer. In, out, shake it all about. Would I do King and Haaland to Pedro and Vert? I mean, Rodgers bench, no hit. Would I do King and Haaland to Pedro and Vert to bench Rodgers? Like, they are probably better. They are probably better, yeah. So you're saying there's a chance. Well, there is a chance I make a transfer, yeah. Like, my team is definitely not locked in. Yeah. Start 3, Semenyo, Anderson, Ryan, Wilson. I'd probably bench Wilson. I would play Anderson and I'd play Ryan. It's either Semenyo or Wilson. Probably bench Wilson. Bench Haaland and Burmo, Wilson or Ryan. Again, here I'd bench Wilson. Start Enzo or Munoz. It's not because I don't think Wilson's going to start, because I do, because I'm starting him in my team. But when you've got players who are like Burmo, like Ryan, who are going to start and almost certainly play 90, have good fixtures and have been good recently, that's why I'm like, I think as a result, you probably end up benching Wilson in a lot of these scenarios just based off minutes. Need Mukiele out, Vandenberg, Collins or Hill. I'd just go Hill and play it safe. Would I captain Bruno or Salah if you owned? Yeah, I probably would go Salah if you've got to that point of owning. And yeah, we've done that. Yeah, so there will be someone benched. I'm almost certain of it. Someone will not start this week. Yeah. The other thing to talk about, a few questions in the chat about it, is David Raya. For anyone who's on baby watch, David Raya's wife is basically ready to have her child. And it was like that with Kelleher a couple of weeks ago that he missed out because Kelleher's wife gave birth. Now, we don't know. We're not going to know, basically. That's all I can say is we're not going to know. And before the deadline, we're not going to know until the team sheet comes out. But there is a chance that he misses a game over the next week. We could just hope it's this game. It's not this game because from an FPL point of view, it's then Champions League and it's then Carabao Cup final. So if it's not this game, it's then not a factor because the next deadline is not for like 3 weeks for Arsenal. Yeah. Should I bench boost this team? You've got Raya, Dubravka, Van Dijk, Vandenberg, Van Heck, Gabriel, O'Reilly, Ryan, Bruno, Wilson, Semenyo, Rice, Pedro, Thiago, Haaland. I don't think this is a great week to bench boost. Like that team, if I knew they were all going to start, I would bench boost it. But all it takes is some of this rotation that we're worried about to actually happen, and I'm not sure I would do it. Alisson is expected to start tomorrow. No guarantee, but he is expected to be back. Yep. Is Coyote starting? Probably. They've got not many fullbacks, so if he's fit, he'll play. So he'll either start or not be featuring at all. Anderson, Anderson, Dewsbury Hall, Richards, bench order. Richards first, Anderson second, Dewsbury Hall third. I have wondered about putting Dewsbury Hall above Anderson, and I probably would if it wasn't Arsenal. Who's in goal for Chelsea? I think it will be Sanchez. I think. My prediction is Sanchez will come back in. I think it's probably 60-40 Sanchez. The Jump the Wave predictions also had Sanchez favourite to start. I just can't see Jorgensen being a better option after what happened. And if he's going to go for Jorgensen again against PSG, then he'll start again. But if he doesn't want Jorgensen against PSG, then Sanchez will also start. So if you've got him, I would just start Sanchez. I wouldn't sell him. Yeah. Rice to Vert or roll? I would just keep Rice, I think. I'm not sure it's worth the risk. I tweeted about this earlier, and it was a sarcastic tweet, but it also is true. I think that some of my players might not start, but I also think there are players I could buy in their place also might not start. And in that scenario, you're best off not making the transfer. If you think there's a good risk that the player you're selling has equal minutes to the player you're buying, then it's not worth the transfer. Like, I'm not certain Vert starts. I'm not coming back from injury. If you've got Van Dijk but no Ekitike, should I do Gravenberch or Wilson? I'd play Wilson over Gravenberch. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're predicting missing minutes and we're guessing minutes. My general prediction is that there will be pretty full strength lineups across the board, and we will see early subs across the board when games are won. That is my gut feeling on it. But should I bring Van Dijk in for a hit or play Alderete? You've got double Arse defence, Tarkowski and Dorgu. So you're going to have to make a defensive transfer anyway. So if you could do Dorgu to Van Dijk for a hit, I would. If it's Tarkowski to Van Dijk, I probably wouldn't, because Van Dijk is needed next week. Lafie or Calvert-Lewin? I probably would play DCL, because Lafie's not on pens anymore after he missed it. I'll tell you who's not taking a pen anytime soon, and that's Dango Atara after his penalty. Gladius, I had a look at your super chat and I said I wouldn't bench boost because you've got Van Heck in there and you've got other players who are risk of minutes. What time is it? Right, we have got just over an hour to go until the deadline. If you could drop a like if you haven't, we are very close to 1,000. So thank you very much. And we're going to put it in subscriber only mode until the deadline. So you literally have to subscribe for 1 second to start using the chat. So if you haven't subscribed, please do. And if you haven't liked, please do as well. Lafie is back on pens. Is he? Is Diarra flagged? Diarra's not flagged. Did Diarra miss one? Did they get one in the cup? No. Pretty sure it's Diarra. Diarra got one against Leeds. Lafie took one. I think it was against Burnley. No, it was against Bournemouth. No, it's Fulham. Yeah, he took one against Fulham because Diarra had gone off. Haaland and João Pedro and Rice out to Ekitike and Anderson in. Well, I wouldn't sell João Pedro, so it's Haaland to Ekitike and Rice to Anderson, which I probably wouldn't do, no. Yeah, he scored against Fulham. Enzo to Tav, Munoz to Van Dijk. Yeah, no issue with those transfers. Yep, Van Dijk is a great pick for the next while, actually, for quite a while. Yeah, I can. Dag, let me take a look. Should I sell Rice or Rodgers to Tavernier? Probably has to be Rice. Unless you've already got a full 11 for next week, in which case you can sell Rodgers, but I would sell Rice just because of next week. You keep alternating between Ekitike and a Bruno cap. Thinking of Van Dijk now too. I mean, I would never captain a defender. And as bad as Spurs have been, they still score often. Play Wilson or bench him and sell Garner for Sharda. I would just play Wilson and bench Garner. Garner's a fine sub. Probably get Defcon. Why is Bruno recommended captain? Why not Thiago? He's probably the most informed player at home and his minutes are great. That's basically why. If you are confident on the minutes for Haaland, Ekitike, Salah, probably Wirtz, there may be better captains than Bruno, but I think there's too much risk there. You've got 5 free transfers. You're considering selling Enzo and you have 2.4 million in the bank. Who should you buy? Selling Enzo, 2.4 in the bank. Probably Wirtz if you can afford it. If not, Szoboszlai or Bruno. Haaland to João Pedro and Rice to Salah for a hit. You already have Ekitike. I wouldn't do it for a hit. If you are doing it for a hit, you've got to be massively chasing or very convinced that Haaland's not going to start. Yeah, for a hit is even more dicey, I think. So no, I don't think so. Start Wilson or Richards. Probably Wilson over Richards. Should I start Wilson or Anderson? I'd play Anderson over Wilson. Should I start Sanchez or Dubravka? I'd play Sanchez. And if he doesn't play, you'll get Dubravka off the bench. Rice to Anderson. You have 2 frees. No, Rice is better than Anderson. The only reason to do that is if you needed the money for something else. TYB, apologies. Bench Rodgers, Ryan, or Wilson. Bench Rodgers, Wilson. Bench 1. Rodgers, Wilson, or Ryan. Rodgers. Bench 1. Yeah, defense is Gabriel, Timber, and Anderson. 2 free transfers when I make a transfer or roll. Hashtag the Ekitike guy. Gabriel, Timber, Anderson I think is fine. Unless you've got a defensive upgrade you can do to buy someone like a James Hill, bench Anderson, and it also helps you in 31 because you've got double Arsenal. Start 2 of Thiago, Dango, Wilson. Again, in a lot of these examples, if you've got 2 players with a good fixture, or 2 or etc., 2, 3 players, whatever it is, with a good fixture, and then you've also got Wilson, who has a good enough fixture, but his minutes are less. So you've got players who are nailed, right? Like Dango, like Ekitike, like Ekitike is not nailed. That was not a good example. Dango, who was the other one? Like Dango, you've got Tav, you've got others, and you've got Wilson. Wilson becomes the obvious bench. I think Wilson is the obvious bench. Wirtz in for Rodgers to play ahead of Wilson. No, like I wouldn't do Rodgers to Wirtz in order to bench Wilson, I don't think. Rice to Tav or keep Rice. I'd probably just keep Rice. Because again, like next week, because the predictions for doubles and blanks will be different this time next week than they are now. Because teams will go out of Europe. If teams go out of Europe, blanks and doubles will change. Chip strategy might change, in which case Tav for 1 week away at Burnley over Rice, I'm not sure it's worth it. Because from 31, you'll probably not buy Tav. Bournemouth assets go out of the window. I highlighted this a while ago when I bought Tavernier, was that they are the perfect team for a wildcard 32. But if wildcard 32 goes out the window and we delay it, their fixtures afterwards are rough. They are rough. Hill or Richards, I'd play Hill. Start Wilson or Anderson, I'd play Wilson. Start Wilson or Krupi, I'd play Wilson. I don't think Krupi will start, if I'm honest. Malik Chow or Wilson, and I'd go Wilson there. Haaland to João Pedro and Enzo to Salah. I don't mind that. Not entirely sure it's definitely worth it, but I don't mind those two. A lot of the Chelsea accounts are hoping that Sanchez starts today. So if you've got Sanchez, I wouldn't be selling him. I would just be playing him. I was checking something, but I can't remember what it was. Someone asked me a question. But I was going to talk about something, but I can't even remember now. So those people asking, why am I not selling Haaland? Am I going to sell Haaland? Am I going to captain? Yeah, etc. I think Haaland starts, so I'm not going to sell him. The other thing to mention with my team is I don't have a second transfer that I want to do. There are people that could do the second transfer and do Enzo to Vert or Enzo to Salah, right? And it improves their team with the money. I don't have a second transfer. Like, my second transfer would be Dewsbury Hall to Vert. And then I'm benching Wilson. And I'm not even guaranteeing that Vert starts. So what? If I think Haaland is... I think if I think Haaland and João Pedro play the same minutes, Haaland is better. Despite form, despite returns, I think Haaland playing the same minutes as João Pedro is better. Right? So I'm not going to sell Haaland to João Pedro unless we don't think Haaland's going to start, or if I think I want the money. But the money isn't useful to me this week, because I do Dewsbury Hall up to Vert, and then what? I bench Wilson for Vert, who I'm not even sure he's going to start. So, listen, if the transfer that people are saying, Haaland and Guiu to João Pedro and Thiago, or João Pedro and Ekitike, I'd be very close to doing those moves, I think. I think I probably would do them. If you've got Haaland and a cheap forward, and you can go to João Pedro, Ekitike, I think I would do it, yeah. I think I would. But, like, again, Ekitike and Thiago are better than João Pedro this week. And I know João Pedro has been very good and absolutely demolished my rank week in, week out. But I would say I'd rather Ekitike than João Pedro this week. So for a lot of people, it's Haaland to Ekitike, which feels more beneficial because you're probably only a Liverpool attacker. But I've also got that. So as I said, unless there was a tweet from someone that makes me think Haaland doesn't start, then I will sell him to João Pedro and just use one transfer. That's the plan. But I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I'm hoping that Haaland starts and I can keep him and I get to roll to 4 transfers. 4 transfers again. They'll probably roll again. 5 transfers. Wildcard 32, 5 transfers, wildcard, bench boost. We'll see where the season takes us. Yes, I have seen Haaland's new haircut. I have seen Haaland's new haircut. As always, if you see anything on Twitter that you want me to see, then please do tag me in it. That does not count for your team screenshots. It's more in terms of team news, quotes, anything you think it's worth me having a look at. Then, let me know. Let me know. Calvert-Lewin or Wilson to start? I'd play Wilson. Start Enzo, Lafie or Wilson. I'd play Wilson because Lafie's not on pens anymore. So you're basically backing Enzo Lafie open play versus Wilson open play. 5 free transfers. Need to do something. 5 blanking players next week. Move Haaland or Munoz this week. Probably Munoz. Again, there's no point doing that transfer for another... No one in the chat, unless you've got something important in your life, which is completely fair. People can't stick around for the whole stream. But if you are planning to stick around and you're around until the deadline, no one should be making a transfer for another half an hour. Like, there should not be a single transfer unless you're not going to be around at the deadline. Because City play today. And now I know it is late, but there is nothing beneficial. Like, you don't gain price changes. Yes, you get to switch off from the game, but you don't gain price changes. So there's no benefit to making a transfer now versus in half an hour. You love your player rankings widget, Harry. Oh, I'm glad you like the stuff that goes around. I always wonder with the stuff in the top corner when I set it up, do people actually use it? Do people find it useful, or is it just there to look nice? But yeah, Yeah, I always wonder. Is the one in the top left going round at all? Or has it been the same for about the past, since I started? What I do want to say is my league code up above, if you haven't joined my league already, because I always forget to talk about it. My league above, it's a charity league that every single person in my league who finishes in the top 25k, I'll donate money to charity. Now, you might not think you're going to get it, but even if you don't think you're going to get it in the top 25k, still join the league. Above, there is a link in the description which will get you automatically joined. There's probably about 50% of you watching who are not in that league. Code is up above. And it's a pretty good barometer of whether you've had a good week or not, because it's got a lot of, I suppose, engaged managers in to see whether you're going up or down, rather than just a green arrow. Because you can get a red arrow in the game, but a green arrow against, like, I suppose, in that league as an example. Can I predict West Ham City 3-1 City? Oh, I need to do my predictions. It's super useful. Oh, I'm glad. If there's any others that you'd like to me to add, I did add one the other day. I added an injury one where I can do like key bits of injury information. This one where I can just type injury news out. But if there's anything else, like I've got differentials in there, I've got hot topic, which I can just write what I want. I've got benching rankings. If there's anything else you'd like me to add into it, give me a shout. Do I think Evan Nilsson will start? Yes, I do. Play Verbruggen or Dubravka? I'd play Verbruggen. Dorgu to Ajer or Hill? I just go safe with Hill. So Bosley, captain? Probably not. Like, he's one of the Spurs players, the Liverpool players against Spurs that I wouldn't captain this week. So no. Krupi starts? Probably not. I think he'll be predicted not to be. Yeah. Start one, DCL or Richards? Probably Richards, because DCL is a doubt. Enzo or Iwobi? Probably Iwobi. That's close, though. That is close. Probably Iwobi. Haaland to Ekitike with just one transfer. I don't think I would do that. Frankfurt. Would I do Vert and Tav in for Dewsbury Hall and Rodgers? You don't have any Liverpool. Ekitike is only possible with a hit. Would I go Haaland out for Ekitike and Salah for Dewsbury Hall? Vert and Tav in for Dewsbury Hall and Rodgers is definitely an upgrade. Or would I do Haaland to Ekitike and Salah for Dewsbury Hall? I probably would go the Salah route, I think. I think I prefer Ekitike to Vert. So I probably would do the... And that allows you to keep Rodgers for West Ham next week. I understand that people want coverage of Liverpool. But you also need to be aware that you can't cover the returns. And Enzo Fernandez owners will 100% be able to back up this point. That there is no such thing as coverage in FPL. That you can't just own a player from a team who's not the one who's not the one you want and hope that you get the coverage. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. Like, Enzo has not covered João Pedro. He's not covered Palmer. As much as you think you've got a Chelsea player with the same fixture as João Pedro or Palmer, Enzo has not done that. So Bosley might be able to cover because Bosley feels, again, quite similar. He might be able to cover Salah. He might be able to cover Wirtz or Ekitike, but he also might not. So just because you want a player, just because you want Ekitike doesn't mean you should buy Szoboszlai, is basically what I'm saying. Just because you might want João Pedro doesn't mean you should buy Enzo, is another example. So it's just worth considering. I feel like that was very philosophical of me. But yeah. Start two of Richards, Wilson or Anderson. Probably bench Richards. I've got 3 transfers, so I do have the ability to make transfers if I wanted to. Question is, I just don't really see anything that's a massive upgrade to my team this week. João Pedro is necessary to own. I don't think he's necessary because I think there are probably 4 good options. I think there's 4 good forwards probably. Maybe 5 if you include Bone. Agree there. Enzo just seems somebody to replace, to be honest. Not sure who. Yeah, I mean, Wilson, Dango, Tav, all good picks. Captain Van Dijk, probably not. Expect 90 for Wilson. Maybe not 90, no. But he was never guaranteed to play 90 even before his injury. That's why if you've got Wilson versus another player who is likely to play, if you've got Wilson versus Dango, right, or Ryan, or Tav, you're going to play the player who's likely to play 90. I'd say Wilson's expected minutes, if you take into account that he might start, he might play 90, he also might get taken off early, and he also might not start, is probably about 65. So if you have in your mind that Wilson's going to play 65 minutes, do you then start Anderson over him? Yes. Do you start Dango over him? Yes. And that's why, predicting minutes is never an exact science, but it's more when you start to take into account percentage chances to get a rough estimate of what their average minutes is most likely to be. Of course, Wilson could play 90, that is possible on the scale, but he also might play 20. So it's where on the scale it lands. I can have a look at. Someone wanted clean sheet odds. We've got them here for you from Rob T. So Arsenal 50%, Liverpool 39%, Brentford 39%, Bournemouth 32%, 34% for Brighton, 33% for United. But basically, if it's not Arsenal, Liverpool, or Brentford this week, you're basically guessing. Anything below 40 above is sort of the benchmark that is used as reliable for clean sheets. So Liverpool, Brentford, Arsenal fit that category. Outside of that, no one gets close enough. United at 33%, I think is way, way too high. I was surprised that this backs a United clean sheet over a Bournemouth one, if I'm honest. And a Brighton and a United clean sheet over a Bournemouth one. Yeah. Sell to and buy Badger. Let me have a look for you. Munoz and Enzo and Van Dijk and Gakpo, or Raul, Enzo, Ekitike, Tav. I wouldn't buy Gakpo. I'd probably make the transfers, but I wouldn't buy Gakpo. I think Gakpo does start, but I think he's an issue going forward still. Rosso Blues, play Anderson or cash to Van Dijk. I'd probably do cash to Van Dijk. You're playing Gabriel and Hill. Yeah, I probably would do cash to Van Dijk. Start Wilson, Iwobi or Anderson. I'd probably play Anderson. Bench 1, O'Reilly, Alderete. I'd play O'Reilly over Alderete. Who should I captain out of Bruno, Haaland, Semenyo? Bruno, Cap, Haaland, Vice. I think is probably where I'm at. The minutes are the concern there, but the minutes are those concerns. So let's do a bit of a review on where we're at. We've got 40 minutes to go until the deadline. I'm checking if anyone has tagged me in anything. No, everyone's just replying to my tweet when I replied to Andy earlier. There are a lot of people looking to buy Salah this week on Twitter, which I do get. If you've got the money for it, if you've decided you're selling Haaland and you've got the money for it, I completely get it. I do completely get it. Yeah. Anyone in the chat considering buying Salah? Anyone in the chat buying Salah this week? Should I triple captain this week? No. Salah or Palmer or Vert? If you've got the money, maybe Salah on pens. Always like a pen taker, and the fixtures are better. Why are people going Bruno? Just there's a lot of risk of rotation this week. No, see, yes and João Pedro, and then no chance of 2 messages. And that's people's feeling on Salah. There's going to be a huge narrative this time on Sunday, or not quite this time on Sunday. Because either what's going to happen is you're going to get the narrative of, well, Salah, he's still Salah. It was a Spurs and he's on pens. He's always been a good pick for a fixture like this, which is probably right. The other narrative is that, have you watched him for the past year and a half? He's not been great since this time last year. So there's going to be a narrative. I think it's more likely that he does something, but Hamad, you've got Sanchez, Gabriel Canate, Timber, Semenyo, Bruno, Dango, Rice, Wilson, Ekitike, Haaland, Dubravka. 2 free transfers where I do Haaland and Mane to João Pedro and Thiago or roll. Dango, Rice, Wilson, Bruno. Semenyo, Bruno. So you've got to bench one of those. You'd be benching Wilson, so I probably wouldn't know. People think Rio will start. Over who? On the left. Do you think? I'm not sure he will start this one, but maybe I'm wrong. Best defender to buy this week. Van Dijk. Best, definitely. Who would be the best goalkeeper that isn't Raya? You have Rice, Gabriel, and Timber. Kelleher. So again, the fixture ticker is great for Brentford because they're great short term, but they're also great long term. Kelleher is the definite best goalkeeper to buy, I think. Captain Gabriel, I probably wouldn't, although I do expect a clean sheet for them, hence why I'm burying all my Everton players on the bench. You've done really well without Pedro and Semenyo. To be fair, I've been quite lucky over the past 2 weeks that I've done well without them. Like, I've had 2 green arrows when they've both done really well. That's because I had Ekitike when he scored 50 in the week before, and then I had like Anderson and Tarkowski last week. Tavernier captain is probably not for me. Like, he's a huge differential anyway, that I don't think I'd captain Tav. It's not the worst shout. Anyone against Burnley is always a fine shout, but I personally wouldn't do it. Would I have Kelleher on wildcard 32? Probably not, because they're unlikely to double. However, if I plan on free hit 33, then I might go Kelleher. I probably will end up with Raya though. I probably will end up with Raya on wildcard, I think, because they're going to have something to play for a lot of the league. Their remaining fixtures are good. They are predicted to double. It depends a little bit on chip strategy, because if Arsenal double 33 and I free hit 33, then it's Bournemouth at home, blank. But then it is good after that. So, next week I'll just play Dubravka. Fulham away is fine. Like, it's not the end of the world. I'll be playing Wilson and Anderson, but it's a blank week. In a blank week, you just put out whatever goalkeeper you can. But I've said this before. Game week 31 is dreadful for clean sheets. It is so bad. I don't think we'll have any team above maybe a low 30s, 32% clean sheet chance next week. Maybe Newcastle. Maybe Villa. But I don't think there are good clean sheet potentials next week. So you just play who you've got. Like, I'm playing Tarkowski, right? Home to Chelsea. It's not ideal. But if I was to sell Tarkowski, who do I buy? Sorry, Fulham. But I already own Anderson, right? So, yeah, sorry, I forgot Fulham. But I already own Anderson, right? So who am I going to sell Tarkowski for? What, Tarkowski to Malik Chaël? I don't think it's worth it for a big derby like that. So that's why when you're buying a defender this week, you probably should just buy one that's good for this week and then just play them next week, just like a James Hill, because he'll probably get DEFCON against United. It's a good fixture this week. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Not starting Anderson over Wilson. No, because I think there's a chance Anderson also doesn't start. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a chance Anderson also doesn't start. And I just like the attacker always. I'm still not in my mindset that DEFCON's strong enough to bench an attacker for them. Like, I almost certainly would always play the attacker. Yeah, as I said, I'm only going to make a transfer because something between now and the deadline changes my thinking on whether Haaland is going to start or not. A couple of you tagged me in a tweet from an account on Twitter that I've never seen. That I've never seen before. So. And, especially when an account trying to tweet team info uses the words expected, that should be a red flag to everyone straight away. Because what that is doing is that is showing that what to me the word expected means is saying that is a prediction or they're trying to guess and that's their fallback if it doesn't happen. Why there is a risk if Haaland starts? Because they've got a big Champions League game that they have to win 3-0 and he was not very good midweek, basically. And would I sell Rice to Verts this week if I need one more player for the blank next week? I probably wouldn't do Rice to Verts, no. Probably wouldn't. Ekitike, a more valuable captain option. It does if we knew he was going to start, but does it also make it possible that Liverpool look at it or Slot looks at it and think that Liverpool injury crisis I can get through with Gakpo up front? There are two ways of thinking about it, I think. Yeah, goalkeeper next week, as I said, I play Dubravka, start Munoz or Vandenberg. Probably I'd play Munoz and hope he starts. If not, Vandenberg off the bench. O'Reilly to Hill or leave it. I'd probably just play O'Reilly. Would I sell Rodgers? Probably not. If you can bench Rodgers, West Ham at home in the blank is a pretty good fixture. Start Elliot Anderson or Wilson. I'd play Anderson. Gordon or Anderson. Rice to Tavernier, I'm not sure it's massively worth it, to be honest. I probably would just keep Rice. I think Rice is a fine hold. Like, the week to sell Rice was the week he played Chelsea, because that was his hardest fixture. It then was Brighton, and it's now Everton. I'd probably deal with it next week. Thinking Haaland and Semenyo to Salah and Ekitike. I mean, if you don't think the City players start and you think that, you're taking a huge gamble there, right? Because you're selling two players who might not start to buy two players who might also not start. This is what I tweeted about, is I've got players in my lineup that I don't know if they start, but their replacements might also not start. So that's also where I'm at with that. Yeah. You're thinking Enzo to Vert and Tarkowski to Van Dijk. Enzo to Vert and Tarkowski to Van Dijk. I don't mind that. Yep. Tarkowski to Van Dijk is good. Enzo to Vert is probably good. If you're starting Enzo, I probably would do it. Yeah. Dallo or Richards, I'd play Richards. Who scores more points, Munoz or Van Dijk? If you've got Munoz and you can go to Van Dijk, I would do it. Because I think there's enough risk that Munoz doesn't start. Like, again, I know I'm using the sort of discussion point of expected minutes enough, but I think we've got to be realistic that Munoz's predicted minutes are probably somewhere about 45, 50. And although, like, someone commented on one of my videos saying, Munoz 40% chance of starting, so you basically don't know. Absolutely. But when you're doing it, I mean, maybe it's a mathematic brain, which my brain is, way of thinking about it. But you take into account the chance of him starting, the chance of him not starting versus a player who is guaranteed to start. It is just worth playing that player. And that's also the likes with Wilson. If I had a better first sub, if Dewsbury Hall had a better fixture, I would be benching Wilson this week. Tavernier or Thiago captain. If I had to pick one, I probably would punt on Tav. Because you're doing that because you want to punt, right? Then that's probably what I would do. Probably go with Tav. Right. Anything? Half an hour to go until the deadline. Half an hour to go until the deadline. Anything going around on Twitter? Nothing. Nothing at all. Wilson, Anderson, or Rice? I mean, Rice is probably my favourite out of those this week. Play one between Hill, Iwobi, Wilson. Probably Hill. Probably Hill. I'm following the Championship a lot more at the moment. There's some games on at the moment. I was just checking the scores. I want Middlesbrough to get promoted. Did you know, fun fact for you all, and I would say this actually might class as a fun fact, I once had a season ticket at Middlesbrough. Back in the day when they had Adama Traore, Alvaro Negredo. They had one season in the Prem and they got battered every week, but I had a season ticket there. So I would like to see them come back. Like to see Middlesbrough back. You can confirm that was a fun fact. You are welcome. Because I went to university up there, near Middlesbrough. I went to Durham. And so I went to uni there. So I had a season ticket with my brother. And we went to basically see them lose every week. But I spend a lot of time up in that area of the world anyway. And I would like to see them come back up. I'd like to go back to the Riverside. Rodgers or Wilson to bench. I'd play Rodgers. What about Coventry? I would love it for Frankie Lampard, of course. Coventry, Middlesbrough 1-2 would be ideal. Would be my hope. You went to Durham too, but supported Newcastle. How do I feel about Petrovic for a short-term punt and sell DCL to Pedro for a hit? If you can do DCL to Pedro, I don't mind that. I'm not sure it's really worth a hit, though. Not sure it's worth a hit. Millwall might get... There's going to be a lot of people wanting to get second. Middlesbrough are playing at the moment. That's why I was checking. Anyway, we have got less than half an hour to go till the deadline. Is anything else... Anything? Nothing. Right. So, I mean, my team is pretty self-explanatory. Let's go and look at the fixtures and the data again. So, first thing to talk about is Rob T. And then we'll be close. Haaland, this is Haaland's data over the season, his XG. You can see that it's trending downwards. That's why people are happy to sell. But he does have a very good record against West Ham. Final projections for this week. We have seen a late increase for the likes of Liverpool, but it doesn't imply anything in terms of team news, I don't think. Liverpool predicted to score the most goals. Then it's City. Then it's Chelsea and Brentford. Then it's Arsenal and United. In and around that, again... My clicking noise. Oh, is it this? Sorry. I fiddle with my headphones. One sec. Sell Semenyo to Vert. I probably wouldn't do that transfer, no. Bench Ryan or Mbermo. I probably would play Ryan against Burnley, I think, if I had to pick one of those. So, again, on this graphic, what we're looking at is as close to 40%. As close to 40% clean sheet odds as you can get. So that's Arsenal, Liverpool, Brentford, and you're needing 2+ goals predictions. So that is City, that is Liverpool, and then you've also got Chelsea, United, Brentford, Arsenal, and maybe Bournemouth getting close to it. That is that. Fixture ticker for the next 2 weeks. If you are certain on a wildcard, 32. Forest, Brentford, Fulham, Bournemouth at the top. Newcastle good next week. Chelsea, Liverpool also good. Again, Liverpool up there. Forest, Brentford, Leeds also good. But long-term, Bournemouth and Fulham are not as good. Just lock it in. We all know you're rolling I mean, I've said this enough times over the course of the stream. I've literally said I'm rolling my transfer. I'm rolling my transfer unless there's anything between now and the deadline that makes me think that Haaland doesn't start. I've been very clear on this matter that I have no transfers planned unless it sounds like Haaland doesn't start, in which case I will sell him to João Pedro most likely. That's basically where I'm at. Yeah. Start Anderson or Xhaka? Probably Xhaka over Anderson. Will I play Munoz? I probably would play Munoz, yeah. Wilson, Anderson or Rice, 2 to start. I probably would bench Wilson. Just take the minutes. I know it's boring, Rice and Anderson over Wilson, but I would probably take the minutes. Unless you're trying to chase, then you might want to go with Wilson, but yeah. Rice to Vert, I probably wouldn't do it. Haaland has a brand new haircut, absolutely. Like, has Haaland got a new haircut to sit on the bench? Has Haaland gone and got a new haircut just for him to sit on the bench? Well, that is a whole nother thing. Sorry, I missed your super chat. Upgrading your defenders to Van Dijk. Would I sell Rice or Rodgers for who? Probably would sell Rice before Rodgers because of the fixture in 31, unless it doesn't impact your team, and someone like Tavernier, potentially. Oh, is that not a real picture? Oh. Well, then I've been clickbaited. Do I think Gakpo will start? Yes, I do. Because he didn't start midweek, so I'd be very surprised. Oh, someone's saying the haircut's AI. He did used to have that haircut when he was younger. So that's why I wondered if it was. I thought it was real. This is the issue with AI. I just don't know what's going on anymore. Start O'Reilly or James Hill. I probably would play James Hill. Behind in your mini league, no one owns Salah. Do I captain him or Ekitike or play it safe and captain Bruno? This is always the big one. If you're chasing, do you go different and risk it goes wrong? If you were chasing big time and that's all that you really care about, you don't mind about rank. I do think Salah cap is one to consider if no one else has got him, but he's still a good differential just on his own. I think if you've got to the point of owning Salah, I probably would captain him. But I don't think Salah's good enough pick to buy. Thoughts on Gay? He's fine to start this week. Without the attacking threat that someone like O'Reilly's got, I do think there's a good chance that West Ham score. Play Richards or O'Reilly? I'd play O'Reilly. Thoughts on Mark Gay? Yeah, he's fine. Anderson or Alderete? I'd play Alderete. I think Sunderland at home are being a bit ignored. But I think FPL would be more interesting if people didn't produce their teams. I mean, I think we've spoken a lot about this over the past week about why I think FPL feels less exciting at the moment. I think there's a little bit of the scheduling. So like the FA Cup weekends not helping. A lot of the big explosive players, like we don't have, like a couple of years ago, Palmer scoring all the time, Salah being great, Haaland being great. There's been a lack of consistency of returns. Like no one enjoys FPL scoring 40 points every week, do they really? I don't want to be checking in. I don't want to be checking into my team scoring 40 points every week. Like we all want to be checking in, seeing whether we scored 60 or 80 or 90, right? That's what we want. So that hasn't helped. And I do think the quality of football in the Prem has not helped either. I just haven't enjoyed. Maybe it's just me and maybe Chelsea have impacted that, but I've not enjoyed watching the Premier League as much this year. Hopefully it's better. Toby, drop me a DM. Sure, bench one of O'Reilly, Hill or Wilson. Probably would bench O'Reilly there, I think. Would I sell Rolfs? I would just play Dubravka if you've got Rolfs, I think. You're used to 40-point team this season. I know, I feel like I score 40 every week. Like if I'm beating 50 points this week at the moment, I'm having a good game week, basically. Saliba to Van Dijk. Yeah, I like Van Dijk. If you've got an option to buy Van Dijk this week, there's probably not a defender apart from Gabriel that I wouldn't sell to Van Dijk. I probably would sell every other defender in the game to Van Dijk if you can for free. Bench 1, Wilson, Anderson, and Rodgers. If that's Anderson of Fulham, I'd bench him. If not, I'd probably bench Rodgers. We don't have anything on Arsenal. There's no team news yet. We are 20 minutes between now and the deadline. If we get anything between now and then, I'll, of course, let you know, and I will share it all on stream. But no one has tagged me in anything. Nope. There is nothing. Love your content. Thank you. And the way I go about things, I appreciate it. This week, would I captain Bruno or Semenyo? I wouldn't trust Semenyo. I don't trust his minutes enough to captain him. When Bruno is just a great pick. I think people think that Bruno is being captained because we don't want to captain the others. Bruno would still be a captaincy option this week if Haaland and Vert and Ekitike were playing once a week. Bruno would still be in the captaincy conversation. So, I think he's still a great pick. Still a great pick. Start 1 of Rodgers, Richards, Wilson, Anderson. Start 1. Rodgers, Richards, Wilson, Anderson. Probably, that's Anderson of Fulham. Probably Wilson then. Cherky or Anderson. I'd play Anderson of Fulham. Start Rice or Rodgers. I'd play Rice over Rodgers. Definitely. Tavernier captain is a differential I don't hate. Captain against Burnley is always fine, but he's not top for me. Brandon, apologies. 5 free transfers and you've got 1.5 in the bank. Van Dijk, Gabriel Hill, Anderson, Tarkowski, Wilson, Fernandez, Anderson, Semenyo, Rice, Haaland, Ekitike, Thiago. Any suggestions? Tarkowski to Malik Chaël, probably. Because you're going to bench both this week anyway, and then Chaël is a much better fixture next week and is better long term. Chaël is really good from next week. He might be my top. I could even do that transfer, but if I'm going to wildcard 32, it's probably not worth it. Just because the Everton fixtures are not great, and the Newcastle ones are good, and they're likely to double as well. Bowen is an interesting one. I don't think he's perfect for the next 2, but I probably wouldn't sell him if you've got him. I don't think no. Dewsbury Hall or Goodmanson first bench. Probably Goodmanson. Pac-Man, Cherky or Anderson. Yeah, I'd play Anderson over Cherky. Any news on Munoz? Nothing. All we know is that he was hoping to train today, and if he did, he'd be in the squad. I don't think Munoz would be on the bench, so I think you'll either start Munoz or he won't be included. Thank you all for joining, by the way. I haven't plugged like or subscribe, and there's 7,000 of you in who haven't subscribed, haven't liked the stream. So if I could just ask once to bump those likes up, 7,000 of you, that would be much appreciated. Will Vandenberg start? Probably, yes. There's nothing on Haaland at the moment. There's no early team news on anyone at the moment. I'm going to go back and have a look in a moment. Sell Dewsbury Hall for Tavernier or play Enzo? I'd probably just play Enzo, I think. I just play Enzo because I think Dewsbury Hall is still a good hold if you've got him. Start Rodgers or DCL. DCL is a doubt, so I probably would play Rodgers out of those two. Tavernier in for Dewsbury Hall to play over Wilson. Doesn't feel worth it. If I had the money, I would really be considering Dewsbury Hall to Tav, but with the positive update on Wilson, I'm surprised they haven't taken the yellow flag off of him. But I probably wouldn't do it. Unless you've got loads. I've got 3 transfers and I'm still not doing it. I was about to say if you've got loads of transfers maybe, but yeah. Haaland, Rice to Szoboszlai and Hugo Ekitike. I'm not sure that's better because I think there's a doubt to Ekitike as well. Just selling a player who you're not certain is going to start for a player who is also not certain is going to start, I'm not sure is worth it. And then Rice to Szoboszlai feels the same. If your opinion on minutes for the likes of Wirtz, Ekitike, Salah, Haaland is different to mine, that is absolutely fine. If that is the way you feel, and you are more convinced that Haaland doesn't start, or you're very convinced that Ekitike does, that is fine. But, yeah. I think it's pretty similar. Sorry, I didn't realise I'd never changed the slow mode. Who'd start? Enzo, Senesi, Wilson. I'd bench Enzo, Isaiah. Enough is enough. Let's roll. Well, unless anything happens in the next 14 minutes, that is where we will be. Yes. Yep, that is where we are. Nothing on Twitter at the moment. Let me turn notifications on for lazy FPL just in case. They haven't tweeted anything today, so it doesn't look likely. Doesn't look likely. How many mins do I think Ekitike will get? I think my estimation would be about 65. Replacements for Rice. I don't think you need to sell Rice this week. I'd play him at home to Everton. Why keep Haaland not changed to Pedro? Because I think Haaland, if he plays the same minutes, is better than Pedro this week. Now, you're guessing on his minutes, but... Hi, Jish. How are we doing? Isn't Tav better than Szoboszlai, or should I roll? You have 2 frees. Forward... Not excited about Salah. Creepy Rice to João Pedro Tav. Or Haaland Creepy to João Pedro Ekitike. I'd rather do... So it's what? Haaland... So either you sell Rice to Tav or you sell Haaland to Ekitike. Probably sell Rice to Tav, I think. Why is no one captaining Haaland? Just a slight... He's not been great. West Ham been better. His minutes are not certain is the main thing. Timber to Van Dijk. Yep, I think the only defender in the game I wouldn't sell to Van Dijk is Gabriel this week, and Timber blanks next week, and Timber isn't guaranteed to start for Arsenal. Evan Nilsson is a hold, unless, to be honest, if you could sell Evan Nilsson to Ekitike, João Pedro Thiago, I probably would, but he does have Burnley this week. Hill or O'Reilly, I'd just play Hill. Nunez or Senesi, I probably would play Senesi. It's the same as the O'Reilly one. Rodgers, Hill, O'Reilly, bench 1. I probably would bench Rodgers. Do I think Ryan will start? Yes, I do. Wilson or Enzo, I'd play Wilson. Start Wilson or O'Reilly. Wilson over O'Reilly. Timber to Van Dijk, yes. Start Dubravka or Verbruggen. Verbruggen over Dubravka. Enzo or Bowen, I would play Bowen. Start Dubravka or Verbruggen, we did. Haaland to Ekitike is not worth it unless you're spending the money on something else. Future planning. Plan is to roll next week and then see where the cup lands with 5 free transfers in game week 32. If I could not move in rank in game week 30 and 31 and have 5 frees and a wild card in 32, that is all I ask for. Play Bowen and O'Reilly. Is it stupid? I mean, you're playing 2 players against each other. It's not always great, but sometimes you have to do it. Both of them are good picks in their own right. So don't bench one for a bad player, basically. But if you have a decent sub for one of them, then maybe consider it. Virch from Die, I don't mind it. I think Virch is better than Ndai, yeah. Yeah. Verbruggen, Anderson, Ryan Richards, bench boost. Yeah, I probably would consider that with Ryan on your bench. If you've got an attacker against Burnley on your bench, yeah, I probably would. Start Tav or Dango. Tav on Pens. Spurs fan here, surprised no one's captaining them. It's more, I don't know who's going to start for Spurs, for Liverpool. If I knew Ekitike was going to start and play 80 plus minutes, I would do it, yeah. 5 free transfers, Rice to Sharda or Dango, and if yes, KDB, KDH to Tav. I mean, Rice to Dango, KDH to Tav is fine if you're playing them both this week. But if you're benching KDH and you can just play Rice, I think that's what I'd prefer. Because I think if teams crash out of Europe next week, it will change what the doubles and blanks are predicted to be. So, how's KDH to Tav not a good move if Tav is on Pens versus Burnley and Man U next week? KDH to Tav is a good move, but it's what it does for your team, right? If I did KDH to Tav, I don't have the money for it, right? But if I did KDH to Tav, I'm then giving myself a benching headache, and then it's not worth it. Because next week, Tav is not going to be the best midfielder to buy. He might be this week because he's got Burnley, but once the Burnley fixture's out the way, the fixtures after that are not great. So all I'm saying on like Dewsbury Hall to Tav is, does it give you a benching headache? Does it massively improve your team? I'd be benching Wilson. Like, I would play Tav over Wilson, but I don't think it's worth a transfer. Like, I would never sell Wilson to Tav, for example. Haaland and Guiu to Ekitike and Palmer. Need to cover Wilson or just play Goodmanson. Haaland and Guiu to Ekitike and Palmer, I don't understand. You mean João Pedro? If you're looking to do Haaland and João Pedro, Haaland to João Pedro and a cheap forward to Ekitike, I quite like those as transfers, so I have no issue with those. Yeah, I think if I had that option of those two moves, I probably would do the double swap. Right, let me have a look. Let me refresh Twitter. We are into the final 10 minutes to go. Yeah. I'm going to be on Twitter very little this afternoon. It is the final day of my holiday today, and I'm back home tomorrow. So I probably won't be engaging, and I'm not going to spend the last afternoon of my holiday stressing about whether Haaland's going to start or not, because it will be what it will be after the deadline. That being said, I probably will still be checking anything I can find after the deadline as well. But yeah, Rice to Verts or hold, I'd hold. I'm not sure it's worth it with the risk of minutes. Captain Salah or Bruno. If you've got, this is the thing. For me, Bruno's a better captain than Salah, but I don't think Salah's good enough to buy, if I'm honest. So I would just, I would just captain Salah. If you've gone to the point of buying Salah, you probably trust him enough to captain him. I'm not in the position where I'd recommend buying Salah that much, so I don't think I'd captain him. But if you've got him, it is a great fixture, and I do think he'll start. Start Elliot Anderson or Gravenberch. To be honest, if you've got a player against Spurs, I'd probably play Gravenberch. Captain Bruno or Semenyo, I'd play Bruno. Whereas Rice fall under your benching, he's very high. I think Rice is a great pick this week. I'd play Rice over Elliot Anderson. I'd play Rice over James Hill probably. Haaland and Guiu. See, look, Haaland and Guiu to Thiago and João Pedro, like probably. If it helps you, then yeah. You say you'd bench Wilson if you bought Tav based on his unpredicted minutes, right? Yes, I would, yeah. If I had Tav in place of Dewsbury Hall, I'd be benching Wilson. If I had, who's another one? I don't know. Who's another midfielder? Szoboszlai for Dewsbury Hall, I'd be benching Wilson. If I had Dango for Dewsbury Hall, I'd be benching Wilson. If I had Iwobi, I'd probably be benching Wilson as well. Krupi to João Pedro or Anderson to the bench. Krupi to João Pedro and Anderson to the bench. Like, probably not worth that. I'm not sure well, yeah. Like, if that helps you get a player out in 31, that's always the other added part to the question. Do I think Krupi to João Pedro to bench Anderson is worth it? Probably not. João Pedro is better than Anderson, though. And if it gets you an extra player for 31, then fine. Because Krupi's not reliable enough. Keane to Van Dijk, Garner to Verts, and Haaland to Ekitike on a free. I mean, they're all huge upgrades, apart from the Haaland one. You're chasing and looking to have fun. Yes. Yeah. Is it risky? Yeah. But Van Dijk is definitely better than Keane. Verts is definitely better than Garner. So yes, I would do it. Haaland and Krupi to Ekitike and João Pedro. Yeah, like I probably would. As long as it doesn't give you a benching nightmare this week, I probably would do it. Munoz to Hill and Guiu to Ekitike. Yeah, don't mind that, especially with the doubt and Hill having a good fixture and Munoz blanking. Yes. Konza or Richards. I'd play Richards. Bring in Tavernier or Anderson. Tavernier is better for the next two, but if you've got a chance that you delay your wild card, I'd go Anderson. Enzo or Elliot Anderson to start. I'd play Elliot Anderson. Haaland to Ekitike, Rice to Palmer. I'm not sure Rice to Palmer is particularly worth it. I probably would just about do those moves, but especially if it helps you next week. But I'm not in love with them. Would I sell Rodgers to Wirtz this week before wildcard 32 or sell Haaland to João Pedro? You only have one transfer. I'm not sure I do. If we're benching Rodgers, then I wouldn't. If you're starting Rodgers, then I do the Rodgers one. Mane and Enzo for João Pedro and Tav, yes. And you've wildcard 24. The only issue is, can you go someone else other than Tav? Tav's not great if you've already wildcarded. Like Anderson. Is Thiago against Wolves triple captain? I'm not sure he's the best captain just because he's not been playing that well. So I wouldn't triple captain, but he's a fine captain this week. Captain João Pedro is fine at home to Newcastle. He's probably not better than Bruno, but he's fine. He's on great form as well. Just again, quick turnaround for Chelsea. Big game next midweek. Yeah. 5 minutes to go until the deadline. Probably 4 by the time you're seeing this. Probably 3. You only have one transfer left. Should I do Rice for Gakpo or Dango? I would just keep Rice. I wouldn't sell Rice to Dango or Gakpo. Best Rice replacement for current and next game week. I would just keep Rice and do it next week. I think Rice is a perfectly good hold this week. There's not many teams, unless you can get up to Wirtz, but I don't think I would do that transfer. There's not many teams with 2 great, perfect fixtures for the next 2. Haaland to Thiago and Guiu to Pedro, worth it. If it doesn't give you a benching headache, I probably would do those moves. Thiago captain isn't talked about enough. I think he's a decent captain. He plays Monday night. We all love that. But I don't think he's been in great form, and I'm not sure Brentford have either. Right, we have got 2 minutes to go till the deadline. Let's summarise what we know. Let's go through everything we know. There's no news, there's no team news, there's no nothing. So we're basing off predictions of minutes, what you think. So if your predictions on players to start and bench are different to mine, then that is, of course, your choice and it can impact your decisions. I think the majority of Haaland, Ekitike, Semenyo, Salah, Timber will start, but we might see early subs for them. That is why I think Bruno is the safest, most reliable captain. But if you think Haaland and Ekitike can do enough damage in 60 minutes, is probably the good estimate, because Haaland could not start, so that drops it. Ekitike could not start, that also drops it. If you think they can do enough damage in 60 minutes, they are still good captaincy options. If you can do Haaland and another cheap forward like Guiu to Ekitike and João Pedro, I probably would consider it if it doesn't give you a benching issue. What else do we need to do? O'Reilly, I think, probably starts. Timber probably does as well. If you've got players like Dango, you've got players like Tavernier, I would be benching Wilson for them. I wouldn't sell Rice to Wirtz because I'm not sure that Wirtz starts. Anything else? Start Hill or Rice? I probably would just about go Rice. Would I do O'Reilly to Van Dijk? Yes. The only defender in the game I would not sell to Van Dijk this week is Gabriel. Wirtz or Salah. If you've got the money, I probably would go Salah. Feel slightly safer for minutes as well. Would I bench Wilson or Hill? I think I'd play Hill and just play safety. But I'm boring, right? My answers come from a boring manager point of view, right? I would take the safety. There. Haaland and Rodgers or Pedro and Wirtz. Haaland and Rodgers or Pedro and Wirtz. I mean, Pedro and Wirtz, but I'm not sure I'd do the transfers there. Does Wilson and Anderson get minutes? Anderson is also a slight risk for Fulham. He might not start. So that's why I'd start Wilson over him. Stack or Rodgers? Probably play Stack. Should I triple captain this week? No, definitely not. Bench Wilson or Enzo? I'd play Wilson over Enzo. O'Reilly or Wilson? I'd play Wilson. Start Stack or Wilson? I'd play Wilson. Wilson or Rodgers? I'd play Wilson. Your bench, should I have first Dewsbury Hall or Richards? Richards over Dewsbury Hall. Start Wilson or Munoz? I'd probably play Munoz. That is the final minute before the deadline. That is all of the questions. That is everything answered. If you want to go and check your teams, lock everything in. Let me refresh my team to make sure everything is where it should be. We are going with Raya, Gabriel, Van Dijk, Richards, Bruno is captain, Burmo, Anderson, Wilson, Thiago, Ekitike, Haaland, Anderson of Forest first sub, followed by Dewsbury Hall and Tarkowski. We will refresh it one more time, and then I will go to my phone and I will just take a screenshot of that and refresh again. That is going to be everything before the deadline. It is what is going on when I refresh? That is going to be 1:30. That is going to be game week 30 in the books. Let's see who starts and who doesn't. Let's keep refreshing. There we go. Game is officially updating. That is everything. Let me just go and post my team. Game week 30. Game week 30. Ross, Oscar, and Andy all sold Haaland. Oh dear. Oh no. Oh no. Transfer rolled. Bruno. Cap. Good luck, everyone. Cool. 1 second. Thank you very much. Thank you for all the kind messages. We're going to do Fantasy Challenge very briefly, and then I am going to go and enjoy the final bit of my holiday. I don't think there was any Haaland news. Not that I saw. Not that I saw. No, I don't think so. Right. Let's do... Just wondering if I missed something. Right. Let me just log in. What is the fantasy challenge this week? +6 points for players who have 3 or more goal attempts on or off target. Right. Well, I mean, João Pedro is going in. Who are the other big threats to my rank? Semenyo. Can I sort by shots? Is there just a total shots line? Is there just like a chances line? Attempts. Let's just do shots on target. Right. Who else is up there that I don't own? Enzo, Sharda. Are there any good forwards? Surely they're all forwards, right? There's not loads. Oh, I'm going Tav in midfield, actually. Defender. I'm going to pick O'Reilly, I think. Oh, 1 player from each team. Oh, yeah. But Munoz is a doubt. But I'll change it. I'll go Munoz and I'll change it if he doesn't play. Let's go Raya in goal. And anyone else? Oh, yeah. Salah. Let's go and buy Salah. 131. And captain. Right. That is my fantasy challenge team. I'm going to wrap it up there and go and enjoy the final afternoon of my holiday. Let's hope that Haaland scores, right? Although he's still bad for my rank, so I don't really know how this works. But, yeah. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you all for watching. The Haaland sells across the board are concerning me, that is for sure. But anyway, we did not sell him. We kept him away at West Ham. We rolled the transfer for next week. Thank you all very much. Enjoy your weekends. Appreciate you tuning in. Drop a like before you go. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all very soon.